Breaking developments from Europe suggest a major shift in Russia's missile strategy, one that could reshape the continent's security landscape. According to newly surfaced documents and open-source intelligence, Russia is now mass-producing an extended-range Iskander ballistic missile with a reported reach of up to 1,000 kilometers. This is no longer a test program. This is an industrial-scale effort with strategic consequences. The Iskander system has already played a central role in Russia's war against Ukraine. It is fast, precise, and difficult to intercept. But what we are seeing now goes far beyond battlefield use. An Iskander missile with a 1,000-kilometer range fundamentally changes who is within reach and how quickly that reach can be exercised. Tonight we are breaking down what this means, what the so-called Iskander 1000 threat actually is, the evidence that these missiles are already in production, and which parts of Europe would be directly exposed if they are deployed as announced. Russia is mass-producing Iskander missiles with a 1,000-kilometer range. According to internal documentation, Russia has moved a modernized version of the Iskander missile, designated 9M723-2, from experimental development into serial production. This distinction is critical. Serial production means factories, procurement contracts, guidance systems, rocket motors, and long-term deployment planning. It signals intent. The Iskander system is already one of Russia's most frequently used and effective weapons against Ukraine. It has been launched repeatedly against military targets, logistics hubs, energy infrastructure, and in many cases, civilian areas as part of air defense saturation strikes. A longer-range variant entering mass production dramatically expands that threat beyond Ukraine's borders. Analysts have begun referring to the 9M723-2 as the Iskander 1000, based on its reported maximum range. If this range is accurate, launches from Russian territory, or from Kaliningrad, would place much of Europe within striking distance, without Russian aircraft ever crossing NATO airspace. What is the Iskander 1000 threat? To understand the threat, it's important to understand the Iskander system itself. Officially known as the 9K720 Iskander, it is a family of missiles rather than a single weapon. The Iskander M uses quasi-ballistic missiles, while the Iskander K fires cruise missiles. There is also a shorter-range export variant. The Iskander 1000 belongs to the M class, specifically the 9M723 missile line, but with significant modernization. These missiles travel at extreme speeds, between 2,100 and 2,600 meters per second, leaving defenders with very limited warning time. In many cases, detection occurs only moments before impact. What makes the 9M723-2 particularly dangerous is its enhanced maneuverability. The missile is capable of altering its flight path during the terminal phase, complicating interception even for advanced air defense systems. It is also designed to overload defenses, often launched alongside other missile types to force defenders to spread their interceptors thin. The missile can carry a variety of warheads, including penetration warheads, cluster munitions, thermobaric payloads, and potentially nuclear configurations. This flexibility allows it to be adapted for different strategic missions, from infrastructure strikes to battlefield suppression. Another destabilizing factor is ambiguity. According to open-source Russian commentary, current surveillance systems cannot reliably distinguish between a standard 500-kilometer Iskander M launch and a 1,000-kilometer 9M723-2 launch. Even advanced U.S. early warning satellites reportedly struggle to make that distinction in real time. As a result, defenders must assume maximum range, forcing air defenses to activate across entire rear areas, exposing aircraft positions, radar sites, and interceptor batteries. Proof that the Iskander 9M723-2 is in production. The strongest evidence that the Iskander 1000 is real and not theoretical comes from leaked financial and procurement documents. These records explicitly reference 9M723-2 missiles by designation, terminology that is used only during active production cycles, not testing. The documents show the procurement of components at scale, indicating sustained manufacturing rather than limited trials. Additional records confirm the production and testing of the 9B873-2 Autonomous Inertial Guidance System, a subsystem developed specifically for the 9M723-2 missile. Guidance systems are not produced without purpose. Their manufacture strongly suggests that missiles are being assembled in meaningful numbers. Combined, these documents remove much of the uncertainty surrounding the program. The Iskander 1000 is not a concept, it is entering operational inventory. This production surge is particularly notable given ongoing sanctions. Despite restrictions on major defense manufacturers, parts of the supply chain remain exposed. Investigations have identified companies producing rocket fuel, electronics, and navigation components that are not currently sanctioned. Even more troubling is the presence of Western-made components inside modern Iskander missiles, pointing to continued sanctions evasion and secondary transfers. Where could Russia hit with the Iskander 1000? In January 2025, Russia announced plans to begin manufacturing these missiles and deploy them in Kaliningrad, its westernmost enclave bordered by Poland and Lithuania. From this location alone, an Iskander 1000 would place a wide range of European targets within reach. This includes the entirety of Poland, much of Germany, Copenhagen and the Danish shipping straits, southern Norway, southern Sweden, Helsinki, and the entire Baltic region, including Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Parts of the Netherlands, Czechia, Slovakia, Romania, and Moldova would also fall within potential range. Even if the missile's effective range were significantly lower, closer to 500 kilometers, the position of Kaliningrad would still threaten much of Central and Eastern Europe. Critical NATO locations around the Suwalki Gap, the Baltic states, Poland, and Eastern Germany would remain exposed. This geographic reality makes Kaliningrad a strategic pressure point, amplifying the impact of even a limited number of missiles. Why mass production changes the strategic equation? What makes the Iskander 1000 particularly destabilizing is not only its range, but the fact that it is being produced at scale. Missile range determines who can be targeted. Production volume determines how often and under what conditions those targets can be threatened. Mass production allows Russia to move from selective use to sustained pressure. It enables stockpiling, rotation, and continuous deployment across multiple regions. In practical terms, this means Russia does not need to rely on a small number of high-value launches. It can afford repetition, testing defenses, probing responses, and adjusting tactics in real time. This shifts the Iskander 1000 from a deterrent weapon into an operational tool of coercion. Even without launching a single missile toward NATO territory, its presence alone forces changes in air defense posture, readiness levels, and resource allocation across Europe. Why Europe's air defenses are under pressure. European air defense systems were not designed for large volumes of high-speed, maneuvering ballistic missiles launched from multiple directions. Even the most advanced systems are optimized for selective interception, not sustained saturation. The Iskander 1000 compounds this challenge. Its speed compresses decision-making timelines. Its maneuverability complicates interception. And its indistinguishability from standard Iskander missiles forces defenders to react broadly rather than precisely. This means more interceptors expended, more radar exposure, and greater strain on command and control systems. Over time, that strain becomes a vulnerability, especially if missiles are used in combination with drones, cruise missiles, and electronic warfare. The Kaliningrad factor, strategic compression. Kaliningrad is not just a deployment location, it is a strategic amplifier. From this enclave, Russia can compress NATO's defensive depth, reducing reaction time and limiting maneuver space for Allied forces. A missile launched from Kaliningrad reaches key European nodes far faster than one launched from deeper inside Russian territory. That speed advantage matters not just tactically, but psychologically. It forces constant readiness, elevates alert levels, and increases the risk of miscalculation during periods of tension. Even limited deployments in Kaliningrad would have outsized strategic impact, especially during crises or large-scale military exercises. What this means for NATO strategy. For NATO, the emergence of the Iskander 1000 complicates deterrence in subtle but important ways. It increases the value of early warning, dispersal, and redundancy, but also increases the cost of maintaining them. Defensive planning must now account for a missile that can reach deeper, arrive faster, and appear identical to shorter-range systems. That uncertainty makes escalation management more difficult, especially during fast-moving crises. In strategic terms, the Iskander 1000 narrows the space between peace and conflict, not by making war inevitable, but by making mistakes more dangerous. Why this is not just a military issue. The impact of this missile is not limited to military planners. Civil infrastructure, transportation hubs, energy networks, and urban centers all fall within potential strike envelopes. That reality forces governments to consider resilience, continuity planning, and civilian protection alongside traditional defense measures. In Ukraine, Iskander strikes have repeatedly demonstrated how modern missile warfare blurs the line between front lines and rear areas. An extended-range version extends that reality across borders. The Iskander 1000 reflects a broader trend in modern warfare. Precision weapons produced in volume, designed to compress time, overwhelm defenses, and create strategic ambiguity. This is not about a single missile model. It is about a doctrine that prioritizes speed, uncertainty, and pressure over brute force alone. In that context, mass production is not a technical detail, it is the core of the strategy. Why this moment matters. Moments like this rarely arrive with dramatic announcements. They emerge quietly through documents, procurement records, and incremental deployments. By the time the shift becomes obvious, the balance has already changed. The Iskander 1000 represents one of those moments, not because it guarantees conflict, but because it reshapes the conditions under which future decisions will be made. The significance of the Iskander 1000 is not just its range, speed, or payload. It is the combination of mass production, deployment near NATO borders, and ambiguity at launch that makes it destabilizing. This is not about a future weapon system, it is about what is already being produced, assembled, and prepared for deployment. As factories scale up production and extended-range missiles quietly enter service, Europe is facing a narrowing window, less time to detect, less time to decide, and less margin for error. The Iskander 1000 is not a warning shot, it is a structural change in the missile balance, and one that Europe can no longer afford to ignore.